The next sutta is 22.1. Thus have I heard. The Exalted One was once staying among the Bhagi at Crocodile Haunt at Besakala Grove in the Deer Park. Then the house father Nakula Pita came to the Exalted One, saluted him and sat down at one side. As he sat there, the house father Nakula Pita addressed the Exalted One, saying, Master, I am a broken down old man, aged, far gone in years. I have reached life's end. I am sick and always ailing. Moreover, Master, I am one to whom rarely comes the sight of the Exalted One and the worshipful monks. Let the Exalted One cheer and comfort me, so that it be a profit and a blessing unto me for many a long day. And the Buddha said, true it is, house father, that your body is weak and a burden. For one carrying this body about, house father, to claim but a moment's health would be sheer foolishness. Therefore, house father, thus should you train yourself. Though my body is sick, my mind shall not be sick. Thus, house father, must you train yourself. Sting here, that the Buddha said that for a person carrying this body about, to claim even a moment's health is sheer foolishness. The Buddha is saying this body that we think is healthy, it's not really healthy. Anytime we might fall sick. How do we know? This body, cancer might be developing inside, we don't even know. Or hepatitis, or some sickness that might blow up later, we don't even know. So the Buddha is saying to think that you are healthy, even for a moment, is utter foolishness. Then the sutta continues. Then Nakula Pita, the house father, welcomed and gladly heard the words of the Exalted One, and rising from his seat, he saluted the Exalted One by the right and departed. And he came to the Venerable Sariputta, saluted him and sat down at one side. As he sat there, the Venerable Sariputta said to the house father Nakula Pita, calmed are your senses, house father. Clear and pure is your complexion. Surely today you have had pious converse face to face with the Exalted One. And he said, how could it be otherwise, Master? I have just now been sprinkled with the nectar of pious converse by the Exalted One. And Venerable Sariputta said, and in what way, house father, were you sprinkled with the nectar of pious converse by the Exalted One? And he sat down at one side. As I sat thus, Master, I said to the Exalted One, Master, I am a broken down old man, aged, far gone in years. I have reached my life's end. I am sick and always ailing. Moreover, Master, I am one to whom rarely comes the sight of the Exalted One and the worshipful monks. Let the Exalted One cheer and comfort me, so that it be a profit and a blessing unto me for many a long day. True it is, house father, that your body is weak and a burden or encumbered. For one carrying this body about, house father, to claim but a moment's health were sheer foolishness. Wherefore, house father, thus should you train yourself. Though my body is sick, my mind shall not be sick. Thus, house father, must you train yourself. And the Venerable Sariputta said, but it did not occur to you, house father, to question the Exalted One further, thus, pray, how far, Master, is body sick and mind sick? And how far is body sick and mind not sick? And he said, I would travel far indeed, Master, to learn from the lips of the Venerable Sariputta the meaning of this saying. Well for me, if the Venerable Sariputta should think fit to expound to me the meaning of this saying. And the Arahant Sariputta said, then listen, house father, apply your mind and give heed to what I shall tell you. Even so, Master, said house father Nakula Pita, and listened to the Venerable Sariputta. And the Venerable Sariputta thus spoke. And how is body sick and mind sick too, House Father? Herein, House Father, the untaught, ordinary folk who discern, who sees not those who are Aryans, who are unskilled in the Aryan doctrine, who are untrained in the Aryan doctrine, who sees not those who are true men, who are unskilled in the doctrine of true men, untrained in the doctrine of true men. These regard body as the self. They regard the body as belonging to self, body as being in the self as being in the body. I am the body, they say. Body is mine, and are possessed by this idea. And so possessed or attached by this idea. When body alters and changes, owing to the unstable and changeful nature of body, then sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair arise in them. They regard feeling as the self. They regard feeling as belonging to self, feeling as being in the self as being in feeling. I am feeling, they say, feeling is mine, and are possessed by this idea. And so possessed by this idea, when feeling alters and changes owing to the unstable and changeful nature of feeling, then sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair arise in them. They regard perception as the self. They regard perception as belonging to self, perception as being in the self, or the self as being in perception. Similarly, with volition and consciousness, they regard these five aggregates as being the self or belonging to the self, or the aggregates as being in the self, or the self as being in the aggregates, and they are attached to the idea that they are the five aggregates. And so when the five aggregates changes, then owing to the unstable and changeful nature of the five aggregates, then sorrow and lamentation, pain, grief and despair arise in them. That, House Father, is how body is sick and mind sick too. I just stop here for a moment. You see just now, the definition of the untaught, ordinary folk, the Putujana, the definition given here is, Putujanas or ordinary folks are those who sees not those who are Aryans, who are unskilled in the Aryan doctrine, who are untrained in the Aryan doctrine or Aryan Dhamma, who sees not those who are true men, who are unskilled in the doctrine of true men, untrained in the doctrine of true men. This is the definition of an ordinary person, a Putujana. That means a Putujana is one who does not go and see the Aryans during the Buddha's time. That meant mostly the monks. That means they don't go and see the monks. And because they don't go and see the monks, they are unskilled in the Aryan Dhamma. They are untrained in the Aryan Dhamma. And they also don't go and see those who are true men. True men, Sappurisa. Sappurisa, true men are those who know the true Dhamma. And so because of that, because they don't go and see true men, they are unskilled in the Dhamma of true men. They are untrained in the Dhamma of the true men. And so because of that, they regard the five khandhas, the five aggregates, as the self, or as belonging to the self, or as being in the self, or the self as being in the five aggregates. And so they say, I am body or feeling or perception or volition or consciousness, or these five aggregates are mine. And so they are attached to this idea. And because they are attached to this idea, when the five aggregates change, because the five aggregates are unstable of a nature to change, then because of that, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair arise. So this is the meaning that a person is sick in body and sick in mind. Sick in body we can't help, because the body is subject to birth, aging, sickness and death. And all beings all beings have a body, and because all beings have a body, they have to suffer bodily pain. But if they are attached to the 5 aggregates, in addition to bodily pain, they suffer mental pain. That's why the body is sick and mind is sick also. And then the Venerable Sariputta continued, and how is body sick but mind not sick? Herein, House Father, the well-taught Aryan disciple who sees those who are Aryans, who is skilled in the Aryan Dhamma, well-trained in the Aryan Dhamma, who sees those who are true men, who are skilled in the doctrine of true men, well-trained in the doctrine of true men, or Dhamma of true men. Such an Aryan disciple does not regard the body as the self, does not regard the body as belonging to self, nor body as being in the self, nor self as being in the body. He says not, I am body. He says not, body is mine. Nor is he possessed by this idea. As he is not so possessed, when body alters and changes owing to the unstable and changeful nature of body, then sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair do not arise in him. Similarly, for feeling, perception, volition and consciousness, he does not regard the 5 aggregates as the self, or as belonging to the self, or as being in the self, or the self as being in the 5 aggregates. And he does not say the 5 aggregates are me or mine, and he is not possessed by this idea, so that when the 5 aggregates change, he does not have all these types of suffering, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair do not arise in him. That, House Father, is how body is sick, but mind not sick. I'll stop here for this sutta. So here, the Venerable Sariputta is saying that the well-taught Aryan disciple, you see the definition of the well-taught Aryan disciple? He is one who sees those who are Aryans. That means he associates with Aryans. And because of that, he is skilled in the Aryan Dhamma, well-trained in the Aryan Dhamma. He sees those who are true men. And because of that, he is skilled in the Dhamma of true men. He is trained in the Dhamma of true men. And so because of that, he does not regard the 5 aggregates as being the self, or belonging to the self, or the 5 aggregates as being in the self, or the self as being in the 5 aggregates. And he is not attached to the 5 aggregates, so that when the 5 aggregates change, he does not have the sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. And such a person, even though he is sick in the body, he is not sick in the mind. In the suttas, the Buddha said, that is the difference between an ordinary person, a Putujana, and an Arya. Ordinary person, a Putujana, is stabbed by 2 knives. One is the knife of physical pain, bodily pain. He is also stabbed by the knife of mental pain, mental torture, mental grief. But the Arya is only stabbed by 1 knife, the knife of bodily pain. So that even the Buddha, even though the Buddha is enlightened, he still has bodily pain. But the Buddha and his Aryan disciples do not have mental pain. So it is only when we shed the body completely, like the Buddha, he enters Nibbana, he has no more body, then he has no more pain, no more bodily pain. But in this very life, if we understand the Dhamma, then we can do away with mental pain. And that is a great thing to have no mental pain. So the understanding of the Dhamma is very important. Now the next sutta is 22.47. The Buddha said, those recluses and Brahmins, monks, who regard the self in diverse ways, regard it as the 5 aggregates of attachment, or as some one of these. What 5? Herein, monks, the untaught, ordinary folk, ordinary person regards body as the self, body as belonging to the self, body as being in the self, self as being in the body, likewise with feeling, perception, volition and consciousness. Thus this is the view. It has come to him to think, I am. Now when it has come to anyone to think, I am or I exist, there comes to pass a descent of the 5 faculties of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. Mind is the result. Mind states are the result. The ignorance element is the result. Touched by the feeling born of contact with ignorance, there comes to the untaught ordinary folk the view, I am. There comes the view, this same I will be. There comes the view, things will be. There comes the view, things will not be. There comes the view, things will have body. The view, things will be bodiless. There comes the view, things will be conscious. There comes the view, things will be unconscious. The view, things will be neither conscious nor unconscious. It is just therein, monks, that the 5 faculties persist. But herein, for the well-taught Aryan disciple, ignorance is put away and knowledge arises. Along with the fading away of ignorance and the arising of knowledge, there comes to him no view that I am, that this same I am, that things will be, things will not be, etc. So, that's the end of the sutta. So in this sutta, the Buddha is saying that because we regard the 5 aggregates as the self, or as belonging to the self, or as being in the self, or the self as being in the 5 aggregates, then straight away there comes the feeling or the view that I am or I exist. And when you have the view that I exist, then there comes along with it a lot of views, what the Buddha calls the proliferation of views, papancha, proliferation of views. Just like it is it is very common for people to think, and when we start thinking, you start asking yourself, where did I come from? Perhaps a creator made me, a creator God made me, and a creator God made the world. And then you start to think, what happens to me after I die? Where will I go? And you start to have a lot of speculation, you start to have a lot of views. And these views give rise, this proliferation of views gives rise to the asavas. The asavas are mental, uncontrolled mental outflows. And uncontrolled mental outflows, when they start flowing, this thinking and all that consciousness, it gives rise to defilements and it gives rise to suffering. So it's only when a person understands the Dhamma, then he does not think I am or I exist. But this state is not easy to achieve. Of course, we have to put in a lot of effort, understanding the Dhamma as well as meditating and cultivating all the factors of the Aryan Eightfold Path, and then slowly one day we may come to understand that there is no such thing as I exist or I am. Perhaps we may come to understand that the whole world is I, and there is no personal I. Then when that person comes to that stage, then there is no more proliferation of views. You don't have all these kinds of thinking. So that's that sutta. The next sutta is 22.99. The Buddha said, incalculable, monks, is the beginning of this round of rebirth. No beginning is made known of beings wrapped in ignorance, fettered by craving, who run on, who fare on the round of rebirth. There comes a time, monks, when the mighty ocean dries up, is utterly drained, comes no more to be, but of beings hindered by ignorance, fettered by craving, who run on, who fare on the round of rebirths, I declare no end making. There comes a time, monks, when Simaru, king of mountains, is consumed, is destroyed, comes no more to be, but of beings hindered by ignorance, fettered by craving, who run on the round of rebirths, I declare no end making. There comes a time, monks, when the mighty earth is consumed, is destroyed, comes no more to be. But of beings hindered by ignorance, etc., I declare no end making. I just stop here for a moment to comment. Firstly, the Buddha says that there is no beginning is made known of beings wrapped in ignorance, fettered by craving, who run on, who fare on the round of rebirths. And then after that he says, beings who are hindered by ignorance, fettered by craving, who fare on the round of rebirths, I declare no end making. So what the Buddha is saying is that you cannot find a beginning of time. There is no beginning of time, and there's also no end to time. And this samsara, the round of rebirths, will continue forever. It will never end. So if samsara will never end, we have to make an effort to end it. If you don't make an effort to end, you will continue to turn on the round of rebirths forever and ever, and will continue to suffer. But the nature of life is such that we turn in samsara, and as we turn, we learn the lessons of life. As we suffer, we learn the lessons of life. Just like a child, you ask a child not to play with fire, he doesn't want to listen to you, he wants to play with fire. One day he gets his hand burned. Then after that, you don't have to tell him not to play with fire, he won't play with fire anymore. So in the same way, when we are in the samsara, there are many things that are dangerous that the Buddha tells us not to play with, but we don't believe, we rather play with it first. And when we play with things in life, then we get our fingers burned, we suffer. And when we suffer, then we are cautious not to go into it so easily. Just for example, we know when we are young, many young men, many young women very easily fall in love. You fall in love, then you suffer. After you suffered, later, if you think about falling in love again, you'll think twice, isn't it? So in the same way, as we go round the cycle of rebirths, we suffer. And as we suffer, we learn many lessons in life. And as we learn lessons in life, lifetime after lifetime, we go on this round of rebirths, we become spiritually more and more mature. We become more and more ripe spiritually. And one day, when our time is due, we are mature enough, then we try to look for a way out of suffering. We try to look for a way out of samsara. And when we are sincere and we make the effort, one day we will come across the true Dhamma. And when we come across the true Dhamma and we learn things like the Four Noble Truths, then we realize there is a way out of suffering. There is a path taught by enlightened ones out of samsara. And once we know that, there is a hope, there is a ray of hope that is lit inside us. And once the ray of hope is lit inside us, we tend to pursue it. And when we tend to pursue it, then we are on our way out of samsara. That is why the Dhamma is so important. Once we listen to the right Dhamma, the true Dhamma, then straight away we know where to turn our direction in life. We have a direction in life, and that direction is to end suffering. And so, if we are sincere enough, we will be able to. And the Buddha continued, just as monks, a dog tied up by a leash to a strong stake or pillar keeps running round and revolving round and round that stake or pillar. Even so, monks, the untaught many folk who sees not those who are Aryans, etc., they regard body as the self, or body as being in the self, or body as belonging to the self, or body as being in the self, or self as being in the body. Similarly, they regard feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness as the self, or belonging to self, or as being in the self, or the self as being in feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. So they run and revolve round and round, from body to body, from feeling to feeling, from perception to perception, from volition to volition, from consciousness to consciousness. They are not released therefrom. They are not released from being born, from aging, from dying, from sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. They are not released from suffering, I declare. But the well-taught Aryan disciple monks, who sees those who are Aryans, etc., etc., these regard not body, feeling, perception, volition, consciousness as the self. They regard not the five aggregates as belonging to the self or as being in the self, or the self as being in the five aggregates. And so they revolve not round and round, from body to body, from feeling to feeling, from perception to perception, from volition to volition, from consciousness to consciousness, but are released therefrom. They are released from being born, from aging, from dying, from sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. They are released from suffering, I declare. That's the end of the sutta. So from this sutta, you can see the Buddha is saying that the untaught, ordinary person, the Putujana, they go round and round samsara, going from body to body, body to body, body to body, feeling to feeling, feeling to feeling, perception to perception, volition to volition, consciousness to consciousness, never ending round of rebirths, and as they go along they suffer, and only one day when they have had enough and they become spiritually mature, then they look for a way out. And when they hear that there are Aryans who know the Dhamma, that there is such a thing as the true Dhamma, then they come to learn the Dhamma and train in the Dhamma. And slowly as they train in the Dhamma, they let go of their attachment for the body and mind. And it is such suttas, these suttas that you are hearing about, the five aggregates, that help us to let go of our attachment, that help us to see the impermanent nature, the painful nature of the body and the mind. And slowly as we let go of our attachment, then we would slowly release ourselves from samsara. Perhaps I stop here today, and if you have any questions, we can discuss them.
Is perception just operates in the eye?
No. All the six senses. Perception comes from all the six senses. For example, just now I gave a perception of seeing the color, that's from seeing. But even, say like from hearing a sound, you hear a sound from a person, and if that sound is a nasty sound, somebody scolding you, then you have a perception that this fellow is a nasty fellow. See? So that, similarly, if you smell a smell, and to you it's an unpleasant smell, and then you think that is a foul smell. But it might not be a foul smell to somebody who's got a blocked nose. Yes, because just now when I started, I mentioned that in the definition of suffering, that the Buddha said in short, in brief, the five aggregates of attachment are suffering. So when we practice the Aryan Eightfold Path, it is just the five khandhas that we have to contemplate. When we contemplate the five aggregates, for example, when you practice mindfulness, sati, that sati must be directed at the five aggregates, not outside. If you practice mindfulness of seeing, of hearing, smelling, tasting, that is not going to help you to get out of samsara. You have to direct it inwards into the five aggregates to see how they are not I, not mine, not myself. Then slowly we let go of our attachment to the five aggregates, and then we become free from suffering.